Okay, when you say you have experience, people are like, okay, that doesn't mean you know how to do things. You might have been just playing around in that field. So let me try to show what are the ways or my way of thinking. It's a little bit hard, okay, but this is the example I mentioned, or I mentioned now, 4D printing project. I was an expert in 3D printing. I was in Taiwan. Suddenly, Audi comes to us. Yushan Ventures at the time was like Venture Lab. And they say, hey, we want to understand better. We want to invest. We want to set up a fund. Or potentially we're going to set up a fund. How are we going to do it? And then I got tasked with this, okay, or I found myself in the middle of this. This was a team, but actually I was the project lead because I was the only expert in 3D printing out of the support team and everyone. And I had to work with a bunch of really smart guys, but super technical PhD students or actual doctors, okay? That we had to try to break down the complexity of that industry, okay, into pieces, and understanding bringing this logic, super technical matter into something that's business worthy. Okay, explaining the technical matters related to this, trying to connect to actual applications of the technology, explaining what are the developments in the industry, what is the potential, and especially afterwards driving the business, trying to use the kind of McKinsey slides or a version of McKinsey slides saying, hey, where are the opportunities? Where can we identify highest impact? Okay, we use this triangle. Then we use a 2x2. Then eventually we try to map out where's the prioritization is going to be in this area and that area. Okay, we're going to focus on the interiors. And it's very complicated. It's kind of a mindset. You have to be able to break down complex matters into its components, and then extract what's valuable for C-level management. Or for example, if you look at Excel sheets, this is a little bit an Excel sheet that I did in a company long ago. Okay, the key thing about this is the company was running on completely different data, and what I did is I want much more complexity because I want to understand much better. And actually, complexity, if well explained, can actually simplify things. Because many times when you're looking at aggregated data, you have no idea what's below it. And if you are able, not everybody is capable, but if you're able of building this, and then the team can utilize and try to understand, okay, what killed us? Okay, we had this amount of leads, this happened, and then we can double click and try to understand where things are going. Okay, this is a sheet that I built by myself. Or for example, this is an example of Shopback. Okay, they just asked me before I work with them, but this was the moment I was applying, and they said, hey, can you tell us how would you do in market expansion? Okay, I have to break it down into the logic. What is the GDP and population logic? Where are the markets going? Okay, let's go back. Okay, then we have an opportunity here. Where's the expansion? Okay, this is a research. Hey, what are the details here? Blah, blah, blah. All the information that we need to go and understand a little bit the market. And then especially trying to understand what is the landscape, who are we competing against in every market. Here is, for example, very specifically in terms of Taiwan. And then running a P&L. I had never worked in buy now, pay later, and financial services and pay now kind of services, but I developed a strategy for Taiwan in terms of all the margins where we're going. They even asked me like, hey, how did you find this out? Did someone tell you? And I'm like, no, man, it's just the logic of the industry. This is the only way this could work. Or for example, here's a P&L developed for a company that was still working on procurement, medical procurement data and how to optimize it. Or for example, if we need to look at something else, okay, now I'm working with a lot of angel investors. You have a bunch of decks and angel syndicates. And then here I have the opportunity to go deep into some technical stuff. Some P&Ls, for example. And this is just the example of this company that sent us a very generic P&L, okay? And then that's basically what they sent us, just a little bit of a data point, very few data points, and trying to understand what does this look like. And I just broke it down into the details. I was saying, okay, this is the data that they're giving me. Okay, now I start to run it as percentages. Now I'm going to break it down in terms of number of employees. If they're saying this, how many employees do they have? You know, because if we're calculating an average of 50K per employee, this gives us this amount of employees, but how can they scale the business at that level? And that broken down and it comes up with a bunch of insights, okay, and a bunch of questions. And this is the kind of mindset, breaking down the topic into its smaller components, and let's say the first principles logic. Where is the logic behind all this? So these are just examples. Or there's another one which I think is interesting. I had a discussion with Prop Seller about joining them, and then I had to had a personal move, so I couldn't join, and they couldn't make me an offer because I wasn't going to stay in the country. But they asked me like, hey, can you analyze a little bit the workflow, how to optimize? And I'm like, okay, this is beautiful. Cost of sale, what are the key components? How can we go from awareness to impressions to sessions, contacts? This is the engagement. Which are the key metrics that we need to be looking at? What are the priorities here? Where can you change part of your structure? So there's a little bit I'm not saying it's a proof point, but it's a little bit trying to understand where the value is of this mindset and how can it be applied. Okay, I hope this is helpful. And I love to do this kind of stuff, and I hope I can do it for some of you guys, or I can help you. I just enjoy this stuff.